So how for you? How is that manifested in your dating life?
So, well, with my ex, for example, it worked long distance because we could FaceTime every day. But I can still keep him at a
Keep
distance.
my arm's length.
And then I should not laugh. I hope he does not see this.
Go on.
When we moved together in Perth, I think I broke up with him the next week and moved across the country in Australia.
What?
Yeah.
Sade, why? You needed space? After a week.
We were together a while, but...
I know, but you lived together for a week and then you were like, nah, I'm out.
I've healed. It's been 2 years. Give me like a minute for the introduction.
Do your thing.
I get shy and I redo it like 5 times.
Do your thing.
Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to Soul Revival. I'm your host Sade and I've got a special guest with me today. We have got Kit from Stay Slick with Kit.
Yo, how you doing? Happy to be here. So excited to be part of this conversation.
Thank you for coming. I'm actually so excited. If you guys don't know who Kit already is, he is the best dating coach.
Yeah, best dating coach. Offer.
Exactly. So if any of you need some help, come to this chat today because I'll be taking notes for sure. So in today's episode, before I introduce our guest, we will be talking about dating post-trauma. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Kit? Who are you?
Yeah.
What do we need to know if we want to work with you?
Yeah, of
Give
course.
us all the tea.
Sure. So my name is Kit. I am an actor, but also a dating coach based in London. And I've been coaching my clients now for about over 5 years. And I primarily have coached women. I do coach guys as well, but I primarily have coached women. Exactly as I'm here. And yeah, a lot of my work focuses on understanding, if you've fallen into a pattern, where that's coming from. And if you find that you're not attracting the kind of personal relationship that you want, and how we can do that, where can you grow in yourself, what are maybe some habits that aren't helping you that maybe you're not aware of, and understanding where that comes from, and then really bringing you into a place where you start operating from a healthy place, because when we operate from a healthy place, we then attract that healthy person and relationship to us. And yeah, it's interesting. I'd say I'm definitely more of a dating coach as opposed to like a relationship coach, because I think relationships are a lot more unique, tailored for the couple, right? Whereas dating, there are some things about dating that we observe are quite universal in terms of, especially the initial stages. A lot of it is we operate from a primal place when it comes to like attraction, again, certain triggers or habits that we have that maybe we're not even aware of. So yeah, I focus on primarily getting you to the point where you have a healthy relationship, and if you feel like you're struggling to attract that. Yeah,
and the reason why I really wanted Kit on here, because he's played a huge part in my dating life after I've experienced my own sets of traumas, which are in the previous episodes, and you can go watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it would be really nice for us to have a conversation around this, because when you've experienced certain adversities in life, whether it was at an early childhood years of your life or whether it's in adulthood, it can be quite hard to understand how to even get to the point where you're building a relationship. And the initial parts, I think, for me at least, are the most triggering, where I don't even know if I can fully trust myself. So it helps having somebody that gives you, for example, you give a lot of like step-by-steps to follow, which I've been following, and it helps you kind of have more control of the situation and not just get lost in the flow of, oh my God, I like this person, ignores all the red flags and all of these warning signs that actually maybe you need to pay attention to, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, especially, paying attention to what is it about that person that we're choosing, because a lot of the time, especially if we're choosing from an unhealthy place, we tend to choose things or people that are familiar, but they may be toxic.
Yeah, or maybe reaffirming something that you believe about yourself.
Reaffirming an inner belief that doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
So, you know, for example, if there's an inner belief where you feel that you are not worthy, you are not good enough, then it is very common to be attracted to the people who, when someone doesn't give you their time and doesn't give that consistency, give that real investment, that makes you chase after them more, because that's validating the inner belief that you're worthy. When somebody else does give you that consistency, does give you that investment, that almost repels you, because you don't believe you're worth that. You don't believe you're worth that. And so this is a new energy that you're not used to.
Yeah.
She's laughing because
she's
conversations about this.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it today.
So Kit and I have been friends for a few years now, and you've just seen the evolution.
I have. I've seen the growth. I've seen the growth for sure.
I actually do have some personal question about my situation later, but we'll see if we go on or off camera. Because,
of course. Yeah. It's quite personal.
And so one thing I'd like to know about you before we start is, where do you think you're at in your life right now? Like, what stage of your... You don't have to talk about what you've gone through, but I feel like you've gone through quite a bit, that you've done healing and you've been on this journey. Where do you think you are right now?
Yeah, no, great question. I'm definitely, you know, we all have our own, the work never stops in that sense. So we all have our own growth and self-work that we should be continuing to do. But I definitely say that I think especially in my adult life, I've always known who I am. I feel like I've, you know, especially becoming an adult, had the courage to stand by who I am in that sense, but also recognize and be open to, okay, where is it that I do need to improve? Because the world reflects the good things about us, but also the areas that maybe we're neglecting in ourselves a lot of the time. And so, yeah, I'm definitely in a place where I feel I'm very healthy within myself. I feel very secure within myself. There are things that obviously I'm still working on, as we all are. You know, and it's funny, I was talking to my mentor, and I didn't even realize this was a thing. But I was talking to my mentor about a month ago, and she was saying, you have an issue with self-worth. And I was like, I have an issue with self-worth? And she was like, yeah. And I guess, I know. I was like, oh, I feel very open. I feel very comfortable in who I am. But I've had an inner belief which I think has driven me a lot in my career, my profession, which has helped. But this inner belief of I have to absolutely earn everything every day.
I was going to say, it's always the overachievers that...
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's
I feel I'm the same, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where... And so I'm kind of recognizing that, and, you know, because a lot of the time, the self-belief is a reoccurring thought that we have about ourselves. And so for me, I'm just kind of, oh, okay. Like, it's weird. It's got to a point now, you know, because I've probably been on social media in terms of the dating content and stuff maybe for about, I'd say 4 years. The first maybe 2.5 years, I think I got maybe about 150,000 views in total. The past maybe 9 months to a year, I've gotten over 30 million views.
Oh.
So it's like, it's really grown a lot. And it's got to a point where 1 in every 3 or 4 times I go out now, someone will recognize me for my content. Yeah.
Okay.
And so far they've all been lovers, which is great.
Wow.
You know, they've always been a lover of the content, but so, and it's weird. It's weird that happening because I don't feel that I'm at a level where that should be happening to me. It's like I don't believe that should be happening. Yeah. And it's not like I'm not some big star and anything like that.
Not yet. Not yet. Getting there.
Getting there. But yeah, and I it's the first time I think they call it imposter syndrome. And I used to think imposter syndrome was like absolute rubbish. Yeah. I used to think it was like,
you're like, I'm the best.
No, not even that. But when people would be like, oh, like I don't feel like I should be here and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but you're there, so like you're going to enjoy what comes with that.
But now you fully understand it.
Yeah, because I feel like there are things that have started happening, or like level of recognition, at least in a small public way, where I feel like I'm not at that level yet, and I don't know why it's happening.
Yeah.
So
You know, I experience imposter syndrome quite a bit, and then I read somewhere it's not you feeling like an imposter, it's just you're getting the gratification for something that you don't feel confident yet in your skills. So all you need when imposter syndrome pops up, you say, okay, thank you for coming to my awareness. This is showing me something that I like. I like the recognition. I like what I'm doing. I just need to get more skills. So then you can say, okay, what do I need to learn to feel more confident in the position that I'm at right now?
Very true.
Is it different editing skills? Is it more social media skills? Like whatever it is that you need when you feel like you're an imposter. Because I got it when I started DJing. I did my first show, and then afterwards I thought, oh my God. Yeah. I just did not even, like, I played the same song twice, like back to back Beyonce, and I didn't even realize it. And I felt like an imposter, and I said, I can't do this. All I needed to do was just practice more.
Yes.
But it showed you it shows me something I like, but then, you know, yeah. Anyway, thanks for sharing that.
No, of course.
So let's get into trauma and dating post-trauma. I really wanted to talk about this this topic today because a lot of us have experienced certain levels of emotional, physical trauma, whether it's betrayals, whether it's family neglect, whether it's living in a toxic home environment, whether it's sexual abuse or harassment. We've all experienced some sort of level of adversity, and the way you show up as a partner, the way you view your dating life, the way you need to receive love is a lot different. And I think I've not seen it discussed enough in dating scenes. I think a lot of the advice that's given is given on people that maybe have experienced a bit of an easier existence. So sometimes I personally struggle to follow the advice of, for example, wait a month before you sleep with them.
Oh, I never said that. I don't know who said that. That wasn't me.
No, or I struggle, which we've talked about multiple times, I've struggled to choose people because I would have a great connection with somebody. They really understood me mentally, but then they're shit partners. Or then right now I started seeing somebody, they're showing up the way that I guess it's always what I say I've always wanted, but then part of me thinks, oh, this feels like, is this a bit safe? Is it a bit boring? Like, what is there something missing? And I question every decision I make because I've chosen the wrong people in the past, and I've chosen them from a place of either recovering from, you know, sexual abuse or from loneliness or whatever it is. So I think it will be very interesting to talk about.
Yeah, 100%.
So first we're going to say, what are the types of trauma that can impact your relationship? Is it emotional, physical?
Yeah, I think definitely emotional and physical I think come up the most.
Yeah.
Emotional tends to often come from if you've been in an environment, especially growing up, where you've not felt emotionally safe. You felt that your emotions and feelings weren't considered. You felt that no one was looking out for your emotions, and especially when you're a child, you know, whoever is parenting you or whoever is looking after you, whoever is your carer, part of them is, at least I believe, their responsibility is to help teach you about the world, but to also provide an environment where your emotions are safe.
Yeah. And
so if you've not been in that environment, and you've been in an environment where you had to learn very early on, or you think you had to learn very early on, that nobody's going to look after my emotions, nobody is going to be considering how I feel and these things, that becomes an inner belief.
Yeah.
And then how that manifests in your relationship is, you don't realize this, but subconsciously you are looking for things that support that inner belief. Yeah. So for example, let's say, I don't know. Let's say for
like, are you using my example?
I know. Well, I was thinking example I've been in. But let's say, for example, that let's say I have this, right? So let's say I'm at like my girlfriend's house and she cooks dinner for me and stuff, and then we sit down, we've cooked dinner and stuff, and then she got herself a drink of juice, and you know she just didn't bring me one.
Yeah.
my thought goes, wow, she was only looking after herself, and because she didn't bring me this juice as well,
she doesn't care for you.
She doesn't care about me, despite the fact that she's cooked me dinner, that she's looking after me at the home, etc., etc. Because of this thing, subconsciously, that tells, if I have that inner belief of nobody's going to look out for me, subconsciously, I attribute that to that belief. And then that becomes evidence as maybe this person doesn't care about me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, wow. Now that you've said that, I'm thinking, I've definitely felt that way.
Yeah, but in actual fact, it might just be, oh, she just got herself some juice, and because she wanted to get some juice. It wasn't that, you know, she was intentionally neglecting.
And it can also show up in the opposite way, where because you've experienced that, you're overdoing it. Or very like true. You put other people's needs so much ahead of yours.
Yes.
Because you're scared of making them feel that way.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one thing as well that plays a part is we all have certain ways and natural ways in which how we show up is how we consider someone. And ideally you want to choose someone and be with someone who you have a lot of those ways are similar, but there may be some ways in which they are different.
Yeah.
And if we don't recognize that everybody can have different ways of considerations, when somebody isn't considering us in the way that we consider them, we take that as, again, this person doesn't care about me. When in actual fact, there may be other ways that they've considered you that you don't even realize, or there may be other ways that they consider you that you don't consider them. Right? Because that's just how they show up. And so in that situation, it's, if you feel that your partner who's with you and cares about you, if you feel that they are not considering you in a certain way that's important to you, you have to communicate that. You have, because I think a lot of the time we measure people through our own standards. And so if they don't meet those standards, we go, well, you don't care because you don't meet the standards. But then how are they supposed to know if you don't tell them that that's what's important to you? Yeah,
I'm learning that right now.
Oh, yeah?
In this situationship.
Yes.
Because I'm aware that I'm meant to say what my standards are and like communicate how I want to be loved. And then I realized in the past I wouldn't say, look, that's important for me, or it's important for you to help me. Say if we go on a date, I want you to arrange it, or at least arrange how we get there, and then I choose the place, or like a team in these things that will take off the workload, like my mental workload. And now I communicate that. Because the other person doesn't really know how you need to be loved or how you need them to show up for you. And we're all different.
100%.
We all are different, I
think a really common thing that happens with women and guys, especially if she's dating a guy who's quite successful, is that truly anyone who's very successful, most of their time is spent working, right? They have less free time than the average person. And so when you have a woman who's maybe dating a man who's, let's say, is very successful in that sense, maybe he, you know, plans to go on a date with her, right? He's like, okay, babe, we're going to go on a date, etc. And he's like, meet me at this restaurant, it's booked for this time. And let's say it's a really fancy restaurant, really expensive, you know, let's say it's, you know, £300-400 for a meal for two. And let's say maybe he gets there a bit late, but they have a good time. Now for her, if quality time is a way that she feels loved and considered, for her, all she's thinking is, you planned this time and you were late. You weren't on time for me. And so therefore, this isn't important enough to you. I'm not important enough for you. But then the guy, if he's thinking in a way of, okay, well, how I want to show her is how much I'm spending on this quality time for us. He's thinking, well, I've spent £400-500 on this day and you're giving me grief for being 5 minutes late. How ungrateful are you?
I'm going to step in on this because to me, and this is something I don't understand about guys, it doesn't matter how much you spend on someone. Like 5 minutes, you're still showing up late to the person.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But what I'm trying to say, what I'm saying, that's where there's a different level, but different as a human, ideas.
Like you wouldn't show up 5 minutes late to a meeting. Why are you showing up 5 minutes to somebody that might be the mother of your child?
No, I agree. But if he might have been late because he was working. It might have been a work thing. So what I'm saying is he might be late because it was a work thing, but all she feels is you didn't show up in the time. You're taking away time that's supposed to be for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care if it's 10 minutes or if it's 2 minutes. If it was important for you, you would make sure that you're there.
Yeah.
Right? 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm just articulating both perspectives. And they're both perspectives are right.
This is clearly something that for me, don't be late.
Both perspectives are right.
Yeah.
Right? But it's about communicating. If she's like, look, the quality time is important, and that it's not how much you spend, it's the time that you spend with me. Whereas for him, he's like, I'm working my arse off to give you the life that you say that you want, and now that I'm doing that, you can't give me a little bit of grace and be appreciative, especially when I'm taking you out somewhere really nice, spending a bunch of money. And it
is hard when you're in that situation.
But I think if you communicate to the other person, so she says, look, what makes me feel loved is when, if you say that we're going to be there at 8, that you're there for me at 8. If you don't know if you can make it that early, I would rather you say 8:30 and you're on time for me. And the way he needs to communicate, because a lot of time that can come to an argument, is that, okay, he goes, I really appreciate that, thank you for telling me that. Maybe he goes, for me, what I would appreciate is there's a level of gratitude on your part for maybe how much I am spending, because that's how I've made an effort to try and make this time special. And so as long as they both understand what it is that they need, she needs him to bring that priority of time to her, and he's asking for gratitude. And as long as you do that, then that's how you move forward together. But then if you don't communicate that, then you're gonna get fallout.
Yeah, I hear you. You always come down to communication. It's what's important.
Yeah, and we have to, as individuals, we have to
be self-aware as well. I think you need to really be self-aware where it's coming from. Like, for example, when you've gone through certain levels of more physical trauma, you show up in a way that trust can be very hard, whether it's like, or you can be, in my personal experience, I can be a bit colder with people, or don't like physical contact as much, or I'm not really touchy with someone. And I've noticed before in partnership, they may think, okay, she doesn't care about me because she doesn't hold my hand in public,
she's
not affectionate. But then in reality, if I'm literally sitting next to you, it's because I care about you. And that for me is saying, no, I really like you. Like, I'm sitting in the same chair as you. But for somebody else, it does not get perceived that way if they're used to more affection or physical things. And it's where developing your own self-awareness of how the traumas or how your life experiences, your upbringings have impacted you, that's when you can see it from an outsider perspective and say, actually, I would like to maybe be more affectionate and show somebody I care about them, but the only reason why I don't like to hold hands is because of maybe when I try to hold my parents' hands when I was a kid, they would just say, oh, not in public, or they would just brush it off like that. So once you're aware of it, then you can start to heal it and fix it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Shall we go through, I want to go through a list of a few ways that trauma impacts you in dating. So there's a few bullet points that we can discuss about. And if you have any examples from your life, I have lots of examples from my life, but if you have any of yours, we can see in which ways it's impacted you versus me, for example.
Sure.
So in dating, when you experience certain levels of adversities, you can go a few different ways. It can impact you in your relationship choices. It can impact your attachment styles. It can impact your love and fight languages.
Sure.
It can impact your... what was the other one? Your, like, commitment.
Sure.
Commitment style.
Yep.
That's the other one. So I don't know if there's any you'd like to start with.
Well, you're the host. You start us
I mean, we could start with attachment styles because that's the hardest one to work on. Did you know that it doesn't just come from the dating experiences, but it comes from the level of affection you received as a child?
Yeah, I believe that.
So if your basic affection needs were met, then technically you develop a secure attachment.
Yeah.
But if they're not, you could become avoidant, anxious.
Yes.
My I've got the spicy mix. I feel like I've been working on it. It used to be avoidant, anxious avoidant, which apparently is 6% of the population.
And what can you describe about anxious avoidant?
So an anxious avoidant is where you meet somebody, your anxious attachment style kicks in and you get super excited about them. You need to see them like 3 times a week. You're texting all the time. You feel like, oh my God, they're like my soulmate. But then as soon as they start showing interest, you're like, whoa, your avoidant kicks in and you have to push them away. You have to start to sabotage it because your avoidant attachment style is something that's trying to keep you safe from from experiencing a further like emotional pain.
Right.
So when you start to like someone, then you go the full 180 the other direction and you start to push them away. Whilst anxious is you just craving the connection and not wanting to be abandoned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did use the.
Interesting.
It's true.
But
I should not laugh.
the awareness is important, though.
Yeah, it was definitely a lesson.
Did you learn that lesson then?
Yeah, it took a while. But for example, I know that that's something that shows up in me when things start to get serious with somebody, and now I started going out with somebody else, and the anxious part of me would say, cancel all of your next plans, your trips, stay in the UK, make sure that like that's your priority. But then the avoidant part of me is saying, oh, why don't we book a 6-month trip to South America and see if the relationship lasts?
So it's almost like part of you is wanting to secure it short term.
Yeah.
But then the long term part of you is that in order to keep yourself safe so you don't get too deep in it,
I book holidays.
You book to get away from it to test it.
But the secure in me now, the secure version of me now, which I've been working on the past couple of years, it's saying, look, take it day by day. Enjoy the time you get to spend with them now. See how it is. Be open for something developing further. Be open to ending whenever it needs to end. And see as you go. Make the plans that you would have still made, but maybe use a bit more flexibility. So instead of going 6 months to a year traveling by myself, well, we've spoken about it. Maybe I can do like 3 months or 2 months, and then he can come and visit halfway through.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It was just come to me as you were saying that. I think part of, when you're operating from a secure place is asking yourself, what is a priority for me right now? And is this relationship a priority? Yeah. Because if a relationship is a priority for you, especially if it's like changing location, etc., that is something that is a factor that you would think about. Be like, okay, what would this mean for the relationship? How do I feel about if it was long distance for a certain amount of time? Is it something that I can see them intermittently, etc., as opposed to the avoidant of, okay, I'm out of here, you have to accept it, and no conversation.
We should have known. I'm an adventurous girl. That's my response.
There you go.
I was like, I catch flight, not feeling. No more.
I hear you.
What about like your commitment issues? How do you think that is impacted and connected by trauma? Because I know there's a lot of hyper independent women nowadays in their masculine energy, and I've heard a lot of, coming from the other side, a lot of men say that, there's all these masculine women, but I don't think that they understand that all of this is a response of so much emotional, physical abuse that we've had to, as women, as a collective and individually, have had to endure. Like, even for me, it doesn't really feel safe even to walk home anymore. Like, London used to feel so safe. I don't even leave the house after 6 p.m. unless I have to.
Right, yeah.
And when I do, I'm walking in my masculine energy ready to protect myself.
Yeah. Because our masculine protects us. Yeah. That's what the masculine does, right? Yeah, for sure. From women I've worked with, there can be a dichotomy of they want to be in a relationship and have a man provide a frame for them to blossom into the kind of woman they would want to be in a relationship. But that takes surrendering, right? As in the control of the environment and the direction.
Yeah.
Because if you want someone to, for example, if you want someone to come and take care of you, it takes you're surrendering that responsibility to them. At the same time, maybe they've grown up in an environment or they've grown up in a world where no one has done that for them. And so they're now in a position where they're striving, they're working hard, you know, they're doing well for themselves and they're doing it for themselves. And that because they feel they are the only person they can trust in themselves, they find it very difficult to surrender and allow someone to do that for them.
Yeah.
Because if you give space for someone to do that for you, you also provide risk or space for them to disappoint.
Yeah.
For you to be disappointed, for them to not do it. And so the fear of having to face giving that to someone, giving them the space to do that for you, but then them not meeting the expectations, meeting the standards, them abandoning that, that's where the fear of commitment comes from.
Yeah,
Or at least with women that I've worked with. Yeah,
I relate to that a lot. For me, it was the fact that I've created my life that I think I'm way better off single. Like I've reached a point where I love being by myself and taking care of my own needs, and honestly, like my life is great single. But then I also want that closeness with someone, and I've had to understand that you really do just need to trust, and you need
to build trust.
Yeah.
Yes.
Build trust, but also allow the space to create that vulnerability and connection with someone. Because as much as like we all say we love, like I love being by myself, but it would also be nice to at some point meet somebody that I can create my own family with and experience life together, like share that with. But then I try so hard to protect my own space.
Yeah, I think we have to accept that in a relationship, we are going to get hurt. That's part of a relationship.
Yeah.
Now, the idea was that our partner hurts us and it happens by accident. As in, it's unintentional.
Yeah.
It's not because they don't love you. It's not because they don't care about you.
They're human.
But they're human, right? No one's perfect.
Yeah.
And so you have to, and I think a lot of people go, well, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm not going to get into a relationship. I'm sorry to tell you, that's impossible. If you're going to be with someone for a lifetime, they are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
But it's
also
also
about how you move on from that, and you ask the questions. Is this person intentional with me? Do they care me? Did it come from a place of malice?
Yeah.
Are they showing me that they're trying to grow from it?
Yeah.
In a way that I can, in a way that at least I know that they're doing something to try and make this relationship better. As long as those questions the answer is yes to those things, then that's okay, because you're going to hurt them as well. There are going to be times you're going to hurt them, and ideally it'll be unintentional.
Yeah.
And you have to do that work, being like, oh, okay, like I've hurt them and stuff because they feel I haven't shown up in a certain way. I've not considered them. So how can I start to show up better for the relationship as well?
Yeah.
You're gonna hurt each other, and that's part of having a relationship.
Yeah, and I think again it all goes back to as well understanding your partner, and not just. I think a lot of people just are in love or maybe care about the partner, but they don't truly understand who they are at a core. Because, for example, if you know, and which is why I try to have, we're going to do a few role plays afterwards on how to communicate certain things with your partner. But, for example, I early on talk about what I've gone through sexually, and I communicate from early on what I need from them, because then they'll understand, okay, maybe I don't want to cuddle straight at you because it takes me a long time to get physically comfortable to want to sleep in the same bed as someone because of what I've experienced. Sure. But like when you understand who I am at a core and why I make these decisions, or why I, say things a certain way, then you understand as well how to respond and how to support. Because, for example, I need somebody that can have the patience of... Right now, I'm in a stage where I've been celibate for a while. I need someone to understand it's going to take me a while to open up physically again. I want to be in a place where I'm really excited about any intimacy. And I need somebody that can understand the reasons why. Because some guys, I've had the conversation, but they don't understand that if I don't want to sleep with you in the first initial phases right now, it's not because I don't like you. Like, trust me, I'm thinking about it 24/7. But it's just, I want to be so comfortable physically with your body that if I'm there, I'm not going to have a semi-panic attack.
Of course.
And then you understanding it as a guy that I'm seeing, you understand where I've come from, then you're not going to take it personally.
Yeah, it's very true, and I think if you communicate that, because that is the thing someone can feel. Someone can feel it's a rejection of them.
Yeah,
and obviously none of us like to feel rejected in that sense. And so as long as and I think this is part of supporting each other, is that he supports you in understanding that's what it takes for you and being patient, providing the space for that. But you understanding how that can be a rejection for him, how you support him is then by reassuring him. And you have to make an effort being like, I do want you, I do want this. Maybe you can be a bit more affectionate physically, even if you're not going all the way, so that he knows, okay, it's not that she doesn't want me, that it is because this is a space that she needs. And he might know that mentally, but emotionally it can feel like a rejection still. We can know something mentally up here, but it can still feel different. And so how he supports you is by providing that space, but how you can support him is by reassuring him that you still desire him, even if you're not taking that step.
Yeah, because I think that's coming up right now. But we'll talk more later. That's coming up right now, and I realize I do need to reassure more, because I don't think this person understands I am attracted to them.
100%.
And I'm not just using them for all of the nice treatments. That's the other one.
That's another thing, especially for guys. The male perspective is, well, if I'm doing all the things that you like and you want as a woman, we know that a big part of men's desire in women is the physical intimacy. And so if he feels he's not getting that, he can feel that he is being used, and that she doesn't actually want him. She just wants what he can do for her. And that's very different. Like wanting someone and wanting what they can do for you are two different things. It's exactly the same as when a guy is in the friend zone or a girl is in like the friends with benefit zone. When a girl is in the friends with benefit zone, it's not that he wants her, he wants what she can do for him, which is provide sexual indulgence.
Cardio,
right? Equally, when a guy's in the friend zone, it's not that she wants him, it's that she enjoys what him being a friend to her gives her, the level of attention, the level of investment, etc. Because there are plenty of guys who are in situationships where they're physical with women and they have no serious intention. They know that, but maybe she doesn't know that. Equally, there are plenty of girls who have guys in the friend zone who they know that the guy wants more with them, and but she knows that she doesn't want that. But then by not alluding to it, there's still a level of investment that can come from that. It's definitely, we have to recognize the difference between the two.
So I wanted to mention, it just popped up in my head.
Yeah, go for it.
What can you do? And we'll go through it a little bit. What can we do now? Okay, so say we've gone through trauma, or we've gone through struggles in life, and we want to date. So I'm going to give my girl's perspective.
Go for it.
Right now. First of all, take time by yourself. Do your physical cleanse, like go on your own abstinence journey. It really helps you understand what your own physical boundaries are, what you're comfortable with. Start doing your inner work. There's a really good book called How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole Lepera, and it goes through 8 weeks or 8 chapters, depending how long it takes you. Teaches you how to heal your attachment styles, heal your wounds, childhood wounds, anything that's happened to you in your adult life, how you show up in relationships. Like, do your inner work. Take 6 months, a year, however long you need to really go to the core of what you're going through. And then which is where I'm at right now. Now what? Like, I've done the work. What do I do other than go to salsa classes where maybe I'll meet somebody? This is where we need a dating coach.
Sure.
So I've done the work. I understand my attachment styles. I've been working on my triggers. All of this is good when you're single. It's easy because you don't have any triggers. How do you then navigate it when you're dating somebody? Because now I realize, now that I'm going out a bit with somebody, everything is popping up. And every day...
That's when it pops up.
Yeah, and every day I'm thinking, I'm done. The amount of times I call my friends and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way I'm dealing with this right now. Like, I'm just going to go... I'm literally going to Lisbon next week.
Yeah.
So how... This is where you come in as a professional. What do I do next?
So the first thing is...
When I meet someone.
Yeah, of course. The first thing is recognizing the triggers when they happen.
Okay.
Because you're right. When you're single, no one's triggering you.
Yeah.
So you can do all this work, but you're not actually tested until you're in a relationship or when you're dating someone. And it's always in our romantic relationships that these things come up. So it's about recognizing what those triggers are when they happen. And when they do happen, being able, and if you have to say to your partner, I'm really sorry, we have to take a pause here because I've just noticed this triggered something in me and I'm feeling something right now that I don't want to give that energy to because I don't think it's helpful. Okay. So I need to take a pause. Okay. And I've done this, if I've been in an argument with, someone that I'm with, and if something triggers me, I go, I need to take a break because I'm feeling a type of way. So I just want to take 5 minutes to kind of regulate how I'm feeling right now. Yeah. And then come back to the conversation. Yeah. So recognize what your triggers are, and when those triggers happen, because what can happen is we get triggered about something, and then that energy we project onto them. Yeah.
And there's two types of ways. There's either where you give an outburst of energy, or for me, I shut down. So I zone out, I stop listening to what you're saying, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, and then I move on. Like, for me, it's kept me safe to just remove myself from the situation and turn cold, or just distance myself. So it's not necessarily that you turn angry. Like, I think a lot of women as well, because we're so used to doing stuff by ourselves, we just shut down and we give up. Sure. And we,
Yeah. So I think if that's the response, that's your trigger response, is to just completely shut down, that means the issue between you hasn't been resolved yet. So then if you shut down and you go, okay, cool, yeah, let's move on and stuff, they think it's resolved, but it's actually not resolved for you.
Yeah, no.
And then you harbor that, right? And then you harbor that energy, and because it's not resolved, that can then turn into an underlying level of resentment. And then that energy starts to feed into other aspects of the relationship. Yeah. And they can be like, where is this energy coming from? Okay, yeah. And you may realize, you may not, and you may be thinking, I feel this way because X, Y, and Z happened. They think it's moved on, and you maybe haven't moved on from it. So if you find yourself shutting down, recognize that, but also make sure that you're still, if you have to come back to the conversation, that you're still addressing whatever issue it was. Yeah. Because it's important. The issue isn't done until both of you have moved on. Yeah. If one of you hasn't moved on from it, then it's not done.
And this is where as well the partner needs to, I think, have patience to understand that this is what's happening as well.
And this is where it's
and like understand that maybe explaining this issues happened once in the past and saying, okay, we've forgotten about this, we've moved on, all is forgiven, but understand that that may pop up in the future.
What may pop up?
Well, for example, say we have an issue where I communicate my own feelings, and then say you've done something and I didn't like that. Yeah. It upset me. Yeah. I said something, you apologize, you forgive it, and you try to make up for it, and then we move forward. But if I don't feel like that's really resolved, I may need to maybe it's because of my past, I may need maybe 5 more times where we go over this. It might not take me more than a normal person to go over something that you've caused hurt. to me.
So I understand that.
That's what I mean with patience. Like we may need to go over this a few times.
So what I would say is this: if it's not resolved for you, then you don't move on from that. It's not having a situation and then it's like, okay, forgive you, apologize, made up for it, cool, we're moving on, and then rehashing that later. That's unhealthy, because that means you're not actually have moved on from it. Because when you've moved on from something, it means you let it go.
I don't know how to let it go because of everything that I've gone through.
Okay, and that's fine. So in that sense, then that means there's
a therapy session.
It's true. In that sense, then, if there is something that you can't let go of, because like I said, if you're going to be a long-term relationship, you are going to hurt each other. There is going to be hurt. And part of having a life partner, it's not about, okay, I want to be in a relationship where I don't get hurt, because that's impossible. It's about how do we move on from this? And part of resolving those issues is learning how to let go. There's a quote outside this room where it says, success is never failing. Success is failing and not quitting. Success isn't about you never failing, never being knocked down. It's how do you respond when you are knocked down that propels you to keep going. That's what success is. So when you're in a relationship, a successful relationship, or one that's fulfilling, or in this case, it's not about never being hurt. It's about how do we handle and how do I move on? How do we move on when we've been hurt? And part of moving on is letting go. And if you haven't let go of something, and it's fair, if you're saying, I'm struggling to let this go because of a past trauma, that's your own healing journey that has to be done, and that's maybe work you do with a therapist.
Okay. So it's not necessarily a valid reason to break up with someone.
It depends. It depends what it is. It depends what it is. I think if someone has hurt you, like I said, ask the questions. Did they do it out of maliciousness? Was it malicious intention? Do they care about you? Have they taken accountability if they've done something wrong? Have they understood how it made you feel? And have they said, okay, I'm going to endeavor to do better moving forward? And do you believe them? If you answer yes to all those questions, I don't think it's something that you need to break up over.
This is what normally in the past I would have done.
Okay.
Growth. Shall we practice a few examples then?
Go for it.
We're going to do a few scenarios of like role playing where first I'm the partner supporting you. Okay. So you've gone through trauma, whatever you want to decide.
Okay.
You're going to tell me, we want to do an exercise where we can show you how to communicate something to your partner. Okay. You're going to tell me or open up to me about something, and I'm going to be giving you the response on how you should approach this.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
Just make up or use a trauma you've gone through, and this is a conversation we're going. Say I'm like your partner, and you're telling me, "Hey, Sade, there's something I want to talk to you about that's been impacting our relationship because of this XYZ."
Okay, sure.
I don't know. Maybe you can tell me you fell into a river as a kid or something.
Okay, I hear you.
You can even make it up.
Sure. Okay. Sade, there's something I need to talk to you about. I feel that in recent arguments that we've had, I've lost a bit of faith because I feel there have been times where you have said things to intentionally hurt me, and I want to choose someone who would never do that. And so I find it very difficult to trust that won't happen in the future. And the reason, maybe my experience, why that's really sensitive to me is because I was with a partner who severely bullied me. So it feels like there's sometimes where you might say something and it feels like you're saying it to hurt me, and I don't know if that's true, but that's how it feels.
So this is where we go. First of all, we acknowledge the pain. And this by saying what I'm going to say next, you're kind of connecting as well to the inner child inside. So it will do, there's something that it does to your subconscious. So this is where you go, ouch. And like actually say ouch. Like, ouch, I'm so sorry that that experience has happened to you. I'm so sorry that your ex-partner would bully you. I can only imagine how it must have hurt. And then you want to acknowledge. So with grief, that's the core of a lot of traumas. Pretty much all traumas is grief. And if you understand it, you can relate to the pain that he might be feeling when thinking about the ex or how they bullied you. So you want to acknowledge the pain that they've experienced. So I'm so sorry you've had to experience that. And then you also want to thank them for sharing it. So thank you so much for sharing something that is vulnerable and something that has been impacting you, or something that directly involves our relationship. So you could say, thank you so much for sharing it, for us to have this space where we can feel free to communicate together and feel open without any judgment. And I appreciate you coming to me with this because I really care about you and I care about our relationship, and I want us to be in a space where we can, you know, love each other safely. Then you want to acknowledge what he's discussed. So he's discussed that I do something that hurts him, but you don't want to use the I, you need to use the we in relationships. Because he, you know, is not pinning it against me, and it's not a me versus him conversation. Is, all right, there's this problem. How can we as a team work through it? So, and then you can ask questions. So I could say, I'm so sorry that the way I've communicated to you, or the way I've shown up in this relationship with my communication, has reminded you of a difficult time for you and you felt a certain way. How would you feel you need me to show up for you for us to improve our conversation? Like, what would you feel would help in between us? Is it me maybe explaining myself more? Is it me choosing a different way to come to you with criticism? Or by the way, I just want to say, I'm doing this in this exercise. It's different when you're in a relationship because this is not normally how I talk. I need to start learning. I'm taking.
This is really good. You should
take
I've
never done this before.
It's really good. Okay, so carrying on with this scenario. What would help me is if you say something that feels like you're saying it to intentionally hurt me. If I ask you, why did you say that? Just clarify what you meant by that and why you said it. Because it might make so easy sense to you, and it may actually be really simple to understand. But if it's a trigger of mine, then I may not see it the way it was intended to be received. And it can feel like a dig at me when maybe that wasn't your intention. So if you say something, I go, that sounds like you're attacking me.
I hear you.
Can you please explain what you meant by that?
Yeah.
And then I have to be aware of that trigger as well.
So maybe what I can do next when I need to come with you with something that could potentially upset you, I can just elaborate a bit more how I'm feeling and the reasons why I'm coming to you with this comment in a way that you don't perceive as me attacking you.
Yeah.
And together we can have a conversation and see next time that this pops up in you, or next time that it pops up, for example, but you feel like I've handled it well, maybe you can use that as an example and tell me, hey, I actually really like the way that you communicated this to me. So that way it's fresher in my awareness that this is how I can best speak to you without you feeling like you're attacked. You've been attacked. Yeah, sure. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah. All right. This is one example.
That's great. That was really good. I think I learned from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying. High five for you.
Yeah, I'm high fiving myself.
Come on, give me some.
Next, which is, I just want to go for a quick one.
Okay.
Because this is, I'm coming to you. Okay. I'm going to go full in.
Go for it.
Because the guys need to know this.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to share, I'm not going to share it. It's in a previous episode. You can go watch the story. I basically just told Kit, look, when I was a kid, I went through sexual abuse. And it takes me a while for me to open up physically. So I'm just going to say, look, I really like you, but I just want you to know that I'm not comfortable right now with having sexual experiences or crossing that boundary. I understand that you may want to get physical, but I need you to understand that I'm not there yet.
Okay.
And I need to know you a bit more, and I want to feel more comfortable with you. And I hope you understand that it might take a little bit longer.
Sure.
And I don't want to, as a response to this, sometimes I do shut out a bit, or I might seem a bit colder, but this is part of my journey that I'm going through. And when you want to cuddle, you just say things like, oh, come on, like, let's just chill in bed naked. That's something I'm not really comfortable with yet.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And if I didn't know that, I would say thank you. That's something very vulnerable. So I appreciate it. So I just want to clarify, it sounds like the environment of being sexually intimate is something you're not comfortable being in yet because you're just not ready yet and you're going through your own thing. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's something that I want, but I'm still exploring in myself what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I do like you, but it's just, I don't want to have to feel pressured.
Of course. So if I can make a suggestion, and if we're doing this role play, obviously when we're in that sexual environment, because I'm so attracted to you, I think sometimes that desire I have for you maybe can come across as pressure, and I completely understand that. And so I think maybe a boundary we should set, at least for now, is that maybe we don't enter that environment, that space yet. So maybe we still spend time together, of course, and do everything, but maybe we shouldn't be, cuddling naked together, and maybe we shouldn't be doing that, because if we know that that environment can lead to a place that you're not ready to go in, and I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, and I definitely don't want you to feel pressured, and I think maybe it's best then we hold off entering that environment until you feel ready.
I think that could help. I also think that eventually trying things out in a way where we go at my pace.
Okay.
Because I also do like the connection or cuddling someone, but I need it to go slowly. So when I do feel ready to enter this sphere, I would like for you to understand that no matter how things get, I want you to still not push things more than what I'm pushing things. So like following my pace, no matter how you may think that things are going really well and you want to make an extra step, just maybe you waiting for me to make the first moves, that might help.
Completely hear that.
Me being in control. Yeah.
100%. Completely hear that. Now, what I'm about to say is my biased perspective, because I've been in this situation before. So, while I appreciate you still want to enter that environment, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel comfortable entering that space with you if you don't feel ready. And so part of me taking accountability for that is choosing not to enter that environment with you until you do feel ready. Because, and this is something that I think sometimes women don't understand about men. Is that the level of sexual desire a man can have with a woman he's very attracted to is way stronger than women realize. Way stronger. And so I think like a woman being naked with a man, for example, and they're being intimate and stuff, and him, obviously he's excited, and then him not getting that release is like, imagine you're starving, somebody gives you a plate of your favorite food, asks you to put it in your mouth and chew, but to not swallow. That's how difficult it is for a man. And so part of that, I believe as a man, if you know that being in that space brings that, like for me, if someone says that I'm not allowed to have this food, I'm going to be like, then don't put it in front of me. I'm the kind of person, like if I'm trying to do a cut or whatever, like the reason I don't eat donuts all day isn't because it's sitting in my cupboard and I'm resisting it. It's because I just don't have it in the house. And so because I think sometimes women can underestimate the level of sexual desire men have. I mean, literally the reason there's been technological evolution, the reason there's been agricultural evolution, the reason there's new inventions and etc. by men, a lot of that comes from the desire to be in a position where they can have the woman that they would like. The level of sexual desire men have is so strong, and I think sometimes it's underestimated. Because I know that, that's why if a woman is not ready to be physical, I would not enter that space with her.
Okay.
And that very much happened with my current relationship. Until she was ready, we're not entering that space. Because it was a point where, you know, obviously I was super attracted, etc., all of this stuff. And she wanted to take it slow in that sense. And so for me, I was like, cool, I think what's best is that, and this is when we were kind of dating previously, that we don't enter that space until she's ready. And, you know, that's how I take responsibility for my desire as a man. So for me, and that's just the approach I take, if I don't want to be tempted, I don't put myself in that situation. And so for me as well, and that's also why, you know, like, for example, I've never cheated for that reason. It's not because I resist temptation more than the next man.
You don't put yourself in that position.
I don't put myself in that position. I'll give you this story. I was on a cruise, Royal Caribbean cruise for a holiday with my family. My best friend Imoje, who you know, came with us, and I had a girlfriend at the time. And of course, Royal Caribbean cruise, amazing cruise. Yeah. We met a bunch of other Americans, Canadians, all similar age. I think I must have been about 21 at the time. And there was particularly this girl who, her and I got on very well. There was a level of attraction there, a level of chemistry there in the group, etc. And I remember the last night, everybody was like, oh, we're going to do an all-nighter in the hot tub. And everyone was stripping to their underwear. And everyone was getting their clothes off, getting into the hot tub and stuff. And she obviously got into her underwear and she was looking at me. She was like, hey, Kit, you're not coming in. So everyone's in there. And
like watching your
I knew, not that I knew, I felt that if I got in and stayed out with everybody, there would have been a very high risk of me crossing a boundary that I shouldn't be crossing with this girl. Because she also knew I had a girlfriend and she didn't care.
I was going to say, did this not click to you early on before you get to the point where you're in the hot tub?
That what?
That you guys were building some sort of chemistry.
Well, nothing. Intimacy. I mean, it's what's difficult is that because we were only on there for a week, and so it wasn't like there was no flirting.
Okay.
It was more friendly conversation, but there's an energy.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. There's an energy, and you can, you know, there might be a look here or something, and there's an energy with it, and so. And I think it was by the last night, because obviously we were only there for a week, by the last couple of days, and I was talking to my friend, my best friend, I was just like, yeah, there's clearly like a level of attraction there, etc., etc. And so for me, getting that hot tub, there was a risk that I could cross a boundary.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that if I got in that hot tub, that definitely would have happened. Yeah. Because what actually ended up happening is I felt like an absolute loser, and I just told everyone that I'm going to go to bed, and I did. And
as you should.
I remember just lying there in my small cabin on this ship, being like, "Right,
like I could be in a hot tub with a bunch of bikinis."
Right.
Yeah, but that's the thing you should do in that situation.
Well, this is what I said. So
you
here's the thing.
Girlfriend.
One, that doesn't mean that if I got in, that I definitely would have crossed that boundary, right? I may have been able to resist, but then I'm thinking, if I know after that I would have cheated on my girlfriend, I'm going back to UK, you know, to my girlfriend. If I know after that I know up here I'll regret that decision after, why would I flip that coin?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I've always been the kind of person, if I don't want to be tempted by something, I will just make sure it is not in my environment, or I remove myself from temptation. So coming back to this scenario, if I'm with a woman and she's not ready to be physically intimate, I'm not going to be cuddling in bed with her half naked. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be cuddling in bed, kissing her naked, all of this stuff. I'm not going to do it because I know, especially as a man, the level of sexual desire that a man has and how charged it can get, that I'm going to want to do more. So out of respect for her, I would not put myself in that environment.
I'm taking notes.
That's what I'm saying. Now, there might be some guys who go, no, I'm going to...
that's where I'm coming from.
Go for it.
Because I've been on this celibacy journey like almost a year and a half. Well, a year and a half or something like that.
Yep.
I have been with guys I've liked where we've had such a physical connection and like attraction. And I said to them, look, I don't want to have sex because I want to wait for somebody very serious. I'm happy playing around and doing some bits if that is something you're comfortable with.
Nope.
But they listened. Like this one person, which I can't tell you about because he said to not do anything.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't tell you this that happened. We just kissed all night. And that's it.
I'm not saying that can't happen, but I think you're playing with fire.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're playing with fire. And if I'm being honest, I have 2 younger sisters. If they were talking to me, if they said they don't want to be physical with a guy, I would say then do not be in an environment, do not be in that space where it is likely to happen. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a interesting chat. I've learned quite a bit.
Great.
I like that.
Me too. I learned some. Yeah, the exercise. I learned something from that too.
I'm gonna rewatch this and like play this in my headphones whenever I'm speaking with this person and say, so just so anyway. So where can the people find you?
You can find me on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
At the Oscars.
Maybe at the Oscars.
That day that you go to the Oscars, please can I come?
Yeah, of course.
Unless you have a +1, I'll be a +2.
Of course. Okay. You can find me at Stay Slick with Kit on all platforms.
And I know how to edit it, so I'm going to write that down here.
Come on.
Yeah.
But this has been great, so thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And I hope you guys have learned quite a bit about, dating, trauma, how to handle certain conversations that can be a bit intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Peace. Oh, wait. No. Wait, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Don't forget to subscribe to Soul Revival. Go on social media as well, where you can, on TikTok or Instagram, let me know what you'd like to hear about next on your healing journey. Okay, bye.
See ya.